Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a brand new knife coming from Tkell Knives. This is the DP-1. And this is not just another design for Tkell. This knife right here is named after his father-in-law, Mr. Donald Pace. The DP-1 is his favorite design. He carried one that was hand ground by Tim Kell. Personally, his father-in-law carried the knife until his health declined. Unfortunately, he was diagnosed with a brain tumor, which left him bedridden. He also lost a portion of his sight, so he could no longer do simple things like sign his name to things. So, to honor him, they pulled his signature from old mortgage papers and engraved it to each one of the DP-1 knives. Check that out. I was wondering what that was. I thought that was a designer's thing, but that is even cooler. How cool is that? I would just hope that I could be as lucky whenever I'm a father-in-law. He did this to ensure his name and legacy carried forward with every DP-1 that was made. This is even more heartfelt, especially, and I'll tell you why, it kind of touches home for me. Despite Mr. Pace's situation, he remains grateful and excited about this project. And I can tell you from personal experience, when you're in a state of hopelessness, like I was whenever I was in my ICU bed, after the third priest came read me my last rites and my life had been completely turned upside down, I was angry and I was depressed and I lost all hope. And it's the little things that can make all the difference. This isn't a little thing. This is a big thing in my opinion. For me, it was a football that all my friends that I wouldn't see as much anymore because they were my work friends signed and wrote messages on, and then they did a journal that they wrote messages and they talked about some of the funny times, good times we had. It was those things that got me through some of those rough days. So even though I've never met you, Mr. Donald, you have one awesome son-in-law and super cool way to keep your memory alive. The knife comes with this awesome padded pouch. I love stuff like this that can be used for other things if you want. There's 2 patch fields. Got the name of the knife here. Thought that was hilarious. Be less dumb Band-Aid. And then you got some molly webbing, so if you want to strap it to a pack or something like that, you could. Of course, you got to have the YKK zippers. And then spot for the knife, whatever model it is, I'm guessing, comes with this challenge coin that says circus animal on it. And then their logo right there. Tkell Knives is a U.S. company, veteran owned. And their knives are 100% USA made, if you didn't know that already. You got their horizontal carry option. You got a ball chain if you want to carry as a neck knife. Some hardware, some Don't Be Dumb Band-Aids. I've already used one of those. And it also comes with a discrete carry concept clip. This is a smaller one. That's just the way I like to carry. I did carry this as a neck knife, though, for a few days as well. And then in this pocket right here, you get some ballistol. So here's the knife in the sheath. You get a 2-part sheath, but they still kept it fairly minimal by doing these little rivets here. He used to do it even more, but I think he was having some issues with some of those sheaths. You got a very small drainage hole at the bottom of there. I wish that was opened up a little bit more. We'll talk about that later. You got some nice jimping on the sheath. His sheaths are great. You got a good push off there. Nice positive click, no rattle whatsoever. We'll talk about carry later on in that section. Like I said, this is a totally USA made fixed blade. Now this is a very compact, either pocket dropper, neck knife. You can carry it on your belt, which way you wanted to, and it's gonna disappear. And I think that's the beauty of this one. And look, I'm gonna tell you now, I love me some Tkell knives and I own, say 4 or 5 of them now. And I did not expect this. But this has become my favorite Tkell knife. We'll touch on why in a minute. But like I said, super compact, coming in at 4.69 inches overall. It has a 2.04 inch drop point blade. This one is in ADCR V2. It has a step milling on the primary and on your swedge. And this is his beautiful nickel boron battle worn finish. I absolutely love it. It definitely has that battle worn look. And you have the Tkell logo there. You got some jimps there. I do wish those were fine cut, closer together, just because my neuropathy, that kind of freaks my thumb out a little bit. But the one good thing is I can easily overshoot that, so it's not really an issue. You do have a sharpening choil that should give you a few sharpenings before you might have to open that up. And I love the way he did that, so it's not too big to where you're losing too much of the edge. And once this starts to widen up, I can easily lay my diamond file in there and just open it up just ever so slightly so I can continue to do that up the blade because the plunge goes all the way back. So you should be able to sharpen it all the way up. In my opinion, that's perfect. One thing that I noticed right away on this one is this one has much thinner blade stock than the rest of my Tkell knives, which I think is a great thing, especially for such a compact knife. You're going to want to be a slicey blade. This one has 0.10 inch blade stock, so that's around like a Benchmade bug out thickness, and you have a decent height flat grind on this one, and it comes down a lot thinner than some other Tkells. They're more in that hard use vein. This one comes down to around 21 thousandths at the thinnest portion. So as long as this one has a nice sharp edge, it should be a great slicer. Let's find out. When you have a small knife like this, you don't really know what to expect. You know, it could be too small to where it's very hard to get work done. But the way those two finger grooves lock my fingers in, and I can kind of wrap my finger, my third finger at the butt of the knife, it stabilizes this blade, and you got enough edge to still get stuff done. I mean, just look, I'm making decent length cuts. Now I started with more of like a push cut because this one came with a nice sharp edge out of box. And that's one thing that I've found really quick with Tkell Knives is that he does a very solid heat treat on his knives. And I could tell right off the bat because they sharpen up and deburr so easily. That's a tall tale sign for me. And even though you wouldn't want to do no crazy stuff like this, you could easily make a feather stick with this in a pinch. It wouldn't be the one that I would go grab for to do it exclusively, but if this is all I had, no doubt about it, you could easily make a feather stick. I can get a good bit of force, especially in that saber grip, because I'm stabilizing the top with my thumb, and then, like I said, those three fingers, I got the handle locked in pretty well. Decently comfortable. The G10's got the texture on it, so it wasn't sliding around, and this is where I'm really shocked. So you got that beautiful belly, and that's where, you know, on a compact knife, it's good to have that belly. So when you're cutting stuff on a flat cutting surface, you can either do a rocking motion cut, you can do a svelte cut, or this type where I'm just basically push cutting because it's so easy. Watch how fast, I know it's sped up, but watch how fast I'm going through here. It piled through the hard pieces with the glue in it, no problem. Nothing slowed this one down. And I did not even realize it was in EDC RV2 until after I completed this testing. And I'm glad I didn't know because I don't love EDC RV2. It's more of a tough steel. I would prefer their AEBL they use, especially being that I live in a high humid environment here in the South. They tend to rust really easy on me. But I will say I was very impressed with how well this one performed because you don't have a ton of blade, you know, 2 inches I think, or 2.5 or something like that. So I'm using that same section and it never slowed down. I think I made 100 cuts is what I counted with this piece I cut. That's very impressive, especially because I tested a few knives before and after this one that were full length knives and they didn't do as well as this one. Nothing gave it any trouble. Now I did notice some of the tubing did cause a little bit of drag because of the step milling, but other than that, I was highly impressed, and that's why this one's become my favorite Tkell to date. Love this knife. Do another slicey one like this, kind of like the Piranha. Yeah, I like that one too. Well, to say I was impressed with the way this one performed, that's an understatement. And like I said, in the cutting, you never know how it's going to feel or if it's going to be able to perform when it's such a compact knife. But I noticed you got these nice finger grooves, which my fingers fit good. Then the way the butt of the knife sits like that, I can kind of wedge this finger up against there. You could tie a lanyard there if you want, because that is a Chicago screw. I can wedge this up there and then I lock myself in 3 points of contact right there. And I was able to get everything done comfortably. It sliced very well. It held its edge all the way to the end. EDC RV2 is a tough steel. It's not a high edge retention steel. That's why I personally prefer the AEBL, but I was pleasantly surprised to see how well this one did. So for me, The saber grip is pretty much where I sat the entire time. Anytime I was doing in-hand cuts, whenever I was doing the cuts on the flat cutting surface, doing the sisal rope, I was like this in the pinch grip. That was the most comfortable for me. You got enough belly to where it made those type of cuts easy. I was push cutting that. And it's say if you needed to get into something and you didn't want to get into it deep, you could do a very light cut into something like that. You have a nice point there, good for piercing, and being that it's ADC RV2, that should be a fairly strong tip. The nickel boron finish held up pretty darn good. I don't see any like crazy, maybe up here, but that might be part of the finish. I don't really recall. It sliced very well through everything. The only time I ever noticed any kind of resistance was whenever I was cutting. I have that piece of the dense tubing. It's more dense than one of the others, and it kind of collapses on the side walls a little bit. I could feel it going up the step milling, but other than that, it got through it well, so it wasn't an issue, just I could feel it. And I seriously doubt that you would be doing a bunch of that with a knife of this size anyway. One cool thing about Tkell Knives is on his site, you can configure the knife the way you want it. Like I said, for this one, you can either get an ADC RV2, and then when he has it in stock, you can, I think it's AEBL, you can choose your grips. These are the textured G10. They're all bolt-on. I'm sure he has micarta options. He always has a ton of options. I don't know if you can get it without the nickel boron coating or not. I'm glad it has it on there, being that this is not a stainless. You got these large, I'm pretty sure those are Chicago bolts. It's also nice being, like I said, this is an ADC RV2 and it's not a stainless, that these are bolt-on. Just in case I get it wet underneath here, I can remove these scales, clean it off, dry it out, put the scales back on, good to go. And like I said in the beginning, you got a nice solid sheath here. I do wish there was a bigger drainage hole than that, especially being that this is not a stainless. I could always drill a hole with my drill, just a through hole, just in case it gets wet inside there. I want to dry it off. But excellent retention on this sheath. I can easily get to it. I like the little push off. With the discrete carry concept clip, as long as I put it all the way to the bottom, I can easily get my thumb in there while it's in the pocket. So, like I said, I've been carrying it with the discrete carry concept clip. The way I got it set up right now, it is kind of canted out. I like it because of how small it is. I can easily put my thumb in here and push on the top right there, get it out, use it, and then when I'm done, it's like I do on all my fixed blades that's in my pocket. I usually pop this up. I'm not in a rush anyway, and all you have is this little bit sticking out. And this is in my lightweight shorts that I wear all the time. If I was wearing pants, it'd probably bury deeper, or I could make this clip come up higher, but I just find it, I like to be able to easily get to the handle. And I gotta embarrass myself for a second. So I've been carrying this knife all week in my pocket, and you'll completely forget it's even in the pocket. It's light. I think it's like, with the sheath, it's like around 3 ounces. So I forget it's in there. So I'm getting ready to do this review, and I put the knife on my review table, and I am looking high and low for the sheath. I mean, everywhere for the sheath. I asked my wife, I said, hey, have you seen a little black sheath? I showed her what Kydex was. She's like, no, I haven't seen it. I looked in the case, couldn't find it. Yeah, it was there the whole time. At least I know they didn't lose it. So yeah, love this little guy, and as soon as this review's over with, it's going back in the pocket. Let's see with the discrete carry concept clip on there, let's see what that makes it. Well, I was scratching my head here. I had to make sure my scale's still calibrated. The calibration weight's in grams, and this is a 100-gram calibration weight. So it's dead on the money. So on the site, it says the weight with the sheath is 3.1 ounces. With the sheath and the discrete carry concept clip on it, 2.93 ounces. So not even 3 ounces yet. Let's see with just the fixed blade. Let's see if it's 1.87. 1.83. So it's always nice whenever the sights are higher, because who doesn't want a lighter knife? Now time for some quick size comparisons. As you can see, it's a good bit smaller than the Tkell Piranha, and it's even smaller than the Jacob Creates Chickadee. It's also a little smaller than the Auxiliary Manufacturing Runt, and it's just a hair smaller than my Tactical Pterodactyl Mini Unnamed. And lastly, it's a little bit smaller than the Civivi Baby Banter fixed blade. And I do have one that it is bigger than, the Kaiser Rocker. So being that absolutely no knife's perfect, what are my nitpicks and complaints? I do wish this was fine cut jimping. Like I said, I like jimping on my fixed blades, and that kind of jimping, it just hurts my neuropathy bad. It kind of sends like a shock through my body. That said, I don't think any of my compact fixed blades like this have jimping at all anyway. I can easily overshoot it to the end of that tip if I want to. You know, in a pinch grip, I can get to the end of the tip. You don't have to use the jimping. My favorite type of jimping is like on this Civivi Baby Banter fixed blade, that fine cut jimping. You can rub your fingers on it, doesn't hurt, but as soon as you put pressure down, your finger's not going anywhere. I find that to be way more effective than the spaced out jimping. And even though the sheath functions excellently, I always prefer a fold over taco sheath. Keep it even more minimal than this already is, as you can see. And then I could put the discrete carry concept clip on the bottom right there. This one works great. So do you fix it? Being that it's not broke, don't fix it. I do wish it had a bigger drainage hole than that little bitty. I don't even know if that would drain anything, because this isn't a stainless. This gets wet. This sheath gets wet in there. I don't want to constantly be putting my knife back in it. Now, if this is a coating to where it would protect from corrosion, it wouldn't protect your edge, which is exposed. That was the first place I got corrosion on one of my other EDC RV knives. This knife, in my opinion, besides it being a super cool knife, still super functional, easy to either drop in the pocket, wear as a neck knife, put it on the belt, and completely forget about it. This could be a super discreet knife. I think it's even cooler that I can be part of Mr. Donald Pace's legacy by owning one of these. I already personally get a pride of ownership whenever the knife is 100% USA made. Not to mention, Tim is a veteran and employs veterans to be a part of his father-in-law's legacy. How cool is that? You know, he sounds like an awesome guy that I would have loved to meet. I'll definitely have to ask Tim more about him at Blade Show this year. So that's going to wrap up today's video. If you're interested in picking up one of these, I think they are still available. I will have it linked down below in the description. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave those down below as well, and I'll do my best to get back with you. I hope every single one of y'all is having a fantastic, fantastic day. And remember, keep those blades sharp. Smile more. Peace.